Hey guys, happy 4th of July. It is nice and kind of cool this morning in Dallas. It's been so rainy and had a really rainy spring and even summer. So the boys and I are supposed to go to Six Flags today. Ryan's birthday is Friday. So he wants to go and hopefully we can. It's supposed to rain, but we're gonna pray the rain away. So, gosh, I just wanted to talk about a couple things. And, have you just ever had those days where you literally just want to drown yourself in coffee and like the Game of Thrones, like, or The Handmaid's Tale, or Breaking Bad, whatever your thing is. And you just battle with the stuff that has gone on in your life. Most of you know, I was the fit chick that got cancer, and I had led a really healthy, active life. And I am coming up on my 5th year cancer-free. So, and that's the big thing in the cancer community is all of who have had cancer, that when you get to that 5-year mark, there is, something really significant to that. Not that you're exempt from ever getting it again, but you just feel like you've hit this major mark. So it's really awesome that I'm almost there. But it's funny because we get cancer and things happen and people show up, and it's just it can be a very dark time, but it can be also a really beautiful time. People are just so good. Like, I know there's a lot of bad in the world, but man, people show up and they can be so amazing during that time. And, but then when everything is said and done, you're like, last chemo treatment and here we go, I'm going to recover. That's the journey we don't always talk about. And I'm really excited because I have been working on a couple projects this month. One is I have a podcast. If you don't know, it's called the Ladies Out Loud podcast. It's with my friend Carrie Huth and I. We are podcast divas, and we help women create their own voice and, basically create the story they were designed to live. Find their voice and create the story they were designed to live. Sorry, still a little early. Not really. I've been up for a while, but yeah. And so, we started that back in November, and we're going to basically take it and create it to be a network, and it's going to be called the Ladies Out Loud Network. And we are going to have various female podcasts. So if you're looking to start a podcast and you're a female, you have a message, you're a businesswoman, and you want to start your own podcast, PM me, because that's what we're looking for. We're looking to meet with dynamic, strong females that want to do this, and they're going to be under the umbrella of the Ladies Out Loud Network. So it's been really cool. Been working on projects for that, creating some media kits for sponsorships and just helping kind of break it down so that we can send that to somebody. And then the second thing was I've been working on my Survivor to Thriver, kind of the fit chick that got cancer media kit, so I can start working on speaking and sharing my story. And I'm really excited about that. Really, really excited. I'm starting actually my second podcast. It's just going to be me. And it's Survivor to Thriver. And it's just like what I was saying at the beginning. I was the fit chick that got cancer. And so when I began to pick up the broken pieces of my life again, I thought it was going to be like, boop, boop, so easy. I was just going to start working out again, just eating my, I think I ate so much potato bread and crackers. When you go through chemo, like the last thing you want is a vegetable. And I got to switch hands because my hands are getting tired. But yeah, I was just like, okay, this is so great. Well, it just didn't go like that. Like, here's the things we don't talk about post-cancer. So I had my last chemo treatment. I remember during the whole ordeal, I had gotten down to like 108 pounds. So it was like a string bean. And normally I'm like 122 to 127. If I have a little more muscle, maybe 132. And so I was really skinny, and I had put on a little bit of weight after surgery and stuff. But once my last chemo treatment hit, my body, I had gone into menopause because I had pelvic radiation. And so I gained like 30 pounds, like boom. It was like in 6 weeks. I remember I went to her in November. It was my last chemo treatment, November 2015. Went back for my appointment in January, and like the scale went up. And now some of it I needed to gain back, but I was like, what's going on here? What? So it was really frustrating because at first I was like, okay, I haven't worked out really much in a year, just walking and what I could do. But I was like, I'll just get back, into my routine, cleaning up my diet wasn't bad. Like I said, I just ate a lot of like crackers and things that just whatever I could tolerate when you're going through all that. So, I start doing the things that I had always done before, lots of vegetables and fruits and smoothies and salads and all that. And I could not lose a pound. Like, it was the most frustrating thing for me ever because I had always been really athletic and really lean. And all of a sudden I was battling like some of my clients do. So the gift in that is the fact that I could really appreciate somebody who is really trying to be healthy and lose weight, and they can't lose weight because of their body. And part of it was I had so much toxicity in my body. My hormones were a mess. My blood panel was a disaster. I mean, my LDL was high, never had been before. I think I had like high levels of, what did they say? Oh, my A1C was high. I had all kinds of stuff. Well, I had been working at Orange Theory at the time as well, so I was, starting to do some workouts, and without fail, I must have hurt myself there like 4 times because I was coaching, and I would teach something, and then I would like, oh my gosh, I hurt my shoulder now, or oh, I hurt my hip, or I would just try to gut it out. I love the feeling of sweating and going really hard and powerlifting and high intense workouts, and my body was like, oh no, we're not doing this for you. So I had to really scale back, and it was heartbreaking for me. I'm not gonna lie, like it was heartbreaking for somebody who just lived to go work out. Like, I know a lot of you are like, I hate eating good, Tracy. Like, I live to eat, and I'm like more of a I eat to live kind of person. And it's like, well, I have to work out because I should, where I'm like, I can't wait. Like, when is it time to go to the gym? So I've really had to transition. Last year, in fact, I had something because of the surgery and my pelvis issues. I have a colostomy, a permanent colostomy. So basically my intestine comes through my abdomen, and I have to wear like a bag. And so because of all that, it's just, there's scar tissue and all that jazz. And I have to be really mindful with what I do. So I would try to work out, and then I would be like jacking up my hip or jacking up my foot or whatever it was. And last year I went almost a whole year. I could hardly even walk. It was ridiculous. So here I am like training people, struggling myself, and it's just hard. I mean, it's hard. And so you think to yourself, how do I go from this really dark ordeal? I've gotten cancer. I've been a victim of it, in a sense, because we all ask the question why. And what I learned is why is a dead end question. It usually leads you to a lot of frustration. And then I was like, okay, like I survived this, right? I got through this, the hard stuff, the hard decisions, up nights looking, how can I avoid the surgery? Painful experience, but I survived it. So now what do I do now? How do I go beyond this and thrive? So I remember like people would be like, you're a cancer survivor. People would give me things. It was super sweet. And I was like, I don't know if I want to be a survivor. Like, I just don't know if that resonated with me. So I was like, I'm going to call myself a cancer thriver, right? So that's kind of where, to me, it was a choice. It was a very deliberate choice to transition from a survivor mindset to a thriver mindset. And it was a lot of work. I'm not going to lie. A lot of, I worked with a counselor, I have a life coach, done a lot of my own work, and just started collecting, in a sense, tools to learn how to thrive. So that's essentially what my second podcast will be about. And so I have my first one at 10:30 today. I'm super excited. And I just am going to share, some of my story and some of my tools that has gotten me through some of those situations to overcome on the other side, and hopefully inspire and encourage, anybody that's willing to listen to me. So, awesome. I love it. So what was the other thing I was going to talk about? I was going to talk about how, it's 4th of July, and this kind of brings me right to this being a cancer thriver, which is we have the freedom in this country, and we have the freedom to make these choices. Like, we are so fortunate. I am so grateful to live at such a time as this. I'm so grateful to live in this country. And, I know there's battles right now and lots of talks politically, but man, I just feel like I have so much choice. And so many other women don't have the choices, that we have in this country. And I am grateful. I'm just so grateful for that. And grateful that there's so many tools at my disposal so that I was able to fight my way back into finding my sense of being a thriver, So anyway, my second thing, or I don't even know what I'm on. Like, I don't have any paper or anything. But the other thing was, I've shared how I found out I have SIBO. So I have had IBS, right? Everybody has IBS. Back in the 90s, when I was 17, I got mono. When I was 20, I started having all these tummy issues. And then my appendix out about 10 years later, and then colorectal cancer 10 years after that. So when I connected the dots, I'm like, something is more wrong than IBS. They're telling me IBS doesn't cause cancer. They said the IBS didn't cause the appendicitis. None of this makes sense. I used to actually say to Tristan's dad, I swear, I'm gonna get cancer, gonna get sick, because your body cannot stay inflamed like that all the time. So, hey Shannon, hey Armida, and I'm talking about SIBO. And so I was, it's just been this 25-year journey of understanding this and realizing that the medical community is also trying to understand this, because I had gone to multiple GIs, all different types of doctors, tried all kinds of different things. Nothing ever really worked. And people are so sweet. They're like, oh, try this supplement, or you need this, or you need that. And I'm like, I've tried the things. I have come to the conclusion. I found out I had SIBO in November. Prior to that, I did 3 months of what's called the low FODMAP diet. And it's basically, when you have SIBO, you have an overgrowth of bacteria in your small intestine, okay? You're not supposed to have bacteria there's some bacteria, but you're not supposed to have a lot. Most of your bacteria is in the large intestine. So when you have an overgrowth of it, it can cause, bloating and pain and all that stuff. I can wake up with a flat stomach and eat and look 6 months pregnant, and you're just and when I was younger, I didn't realize, I didn't understand what was going on, and it would cause me fatigue sometimes. I would feel horrible. Well, when you look at that, it can be caused from viruses. So maybe when I got mono, it can be caused from your gut motility, just your functioning system, your nervous system not working correctly. There's so many different things. I had struggled with an eating disorder in my late teens, early 20s. I thought that's what it was. Maybe because I, didn't eat, I screwed myself up. And that could have been some of it. But the problem is, I've eaten better longer than I had any of those other issues, like the mono or the eating disorder. So it was always like, okay, it doesn't make sense. So I did this low FODMAP diet, and basically there's all kinds of foods, healthy foods, fruits, vegetables. Actually, most of them on the list that I ate regularly can cause fermentation, and the bacteria loves it. So things like apples, mushrooms, asparagus, things I ate all the time, your bacteria, if you have an overgrowth, is like party time, and it's just like, let me eat it up. And so that is essentially, what one of the things they tell you is do a low FODMAP diet. Okay, fine. So I did that. I did feel better at first initially, but a lot of times that happens when I was 25 and I stopped doing dairy. I felt good for a time, and then I didn't. So I had managed my symptoms with diet for several years, but it didn't exempt me from inflammation. I still got inflammation. I still couldn't find a cause, and I swear I would go every day and do this, like, okay, what did I eat? What could be I mean, it was like exhausting. It was like a full-time job of like analyzing what I ate and what I could have avoided and everything. So, after all of this, almost 5 years cancer-free, I am still investigating and trying to research and trying to find, a doctor, which I believe I have. There's a couple that I'm looking into that I've listened to podcasts, and they seem to understand the gut microbiome. So that's really the issue. I don't think it's about food. Like, here's the thing. Okay. Now, for some of you, it may be about food because you eat processed food, or you drink, or you like drink too much or whatever, to where like it can affect your system. I don't mean like never have a drink. So, but processed food, or what we think is healthy, like there's so much out there right now, like this is plant-based and this is, vegan, or this is gluten-free, and we jump on these bandwagons. Guys, okay, when it's a marketing thing. Like, if you just pay attention, when all of a sudden people with celiac needed choices for gluten-free, and then the general public got a hold of that, all of a sudden we see all these boxes on the shelf that's gluten-free. Here's the thing. Nobody ever calls me and says, hey, Tracy, you know what? Is broccoli okay to eat? Like, I don't know. How many calories is it? And is it like, there's no label. I don't see the label. Like, what do you think? So, fruits, whole foods. Okay, I'm a whole food plant-based coach, and I'm not going to ever, judge you if you eat, dairy or meat or whatever, but there are certain foods, processed foods, that can really affect that sounded crazy, affect your gut microbiome. And so the medical community just doesn't understand a lot of the gut microbiome. They're just like in process learning. It's just, science is just that way, right? We just don't know things. Like cancer at one point was an enigma, and now we know. And so when somebody gets a cancer diagnosis, they have a protocol. They kind of go, okay, here's what we do. All right. When somebody has a neurological condition, like fibromyalgia or CRPS, they're not sure. They're not always sure. And when it comes to our gut health, I think the jury is still out on this. But after everything my husband's been through neurologically, because he's got all kinds of autoimmune issues and he has all kinds of neurological issues, I really think it comes down to something in the nervous system with your gut motility, and especially when your diet is clean, like mine. So there's 2 doctors I'm looking into right now. Dr. Angie Seghetti, I'm probably going to say her name wrong, but she is a whole food plant-based nutrition coach, on top of being a gastroenterologist. So I have reached out to her because I heard her podcast on Nutrition Rounds. So if you go to your podcast, find Nutrition Rounds. She's really, really good. Has a lot of really good people on, people that talk about, how to be healthy. And she's a cardiologist, I think it is, the lady that hosts the show. But she has all kinds of different people on. So it is so worth listening to, guys. She's really like plethora of information. Really, really good. Then there's Dr. Pompa. So he is a chiropractor out of Utah. He had a mercury illness years ago, and it took him, I think, 3 or 4 years. He healed himself, all natural, food-based, water fasting, all that kind of stuff. And so I'm also going to reach out to him, and in fact, he did a little snippet, like a 4-minute video on SIBO. I put it on my page, so if you guys are just like, you know, laying in bed right now because it's the 4th of July and who's up except for me, because when you're a trainer, you got to get up and work out your people so then they can go enjoy the festivities. But oh my God, you should see the sun right now. Let me turn it around. We got to stop here. It's just amazing. Like, look at how beautiful. I don't know if you can see the rays like I can, like right there. Ah, it's so gorgeous. Okay, so, but Dr. Pompa did a 4-minute video yesterday. He was talking about bloating and talked about SIBO, and he's gonna share more. And what was so cool is, this is where sometimes you say something and it's just like, there's your answer. I had just said to my husband, this is not about food. Like, I have done this low FODMAP thing, okay? And I'm like dying because like my favorite fruits and vegetables are on that. I'm like, this is not right, that I cannot eat my asparagus. And then I, you know, had some specific carb diet, which is like completely obnoxious. I was like, really? Like, I can't even, like, you can eat all the meats, but like nothing, I can't even go there with that. So I was like, this is not making sense. Like, our body was designed to eat whole, healthy foods. Now, we know the soil is tainted. I get that. Like, there's glyphosate, and I mean, that's just a whole nother topic. But I mean, really, I think, number one, there's some autoimmune issues going on in my body, which we know. I got cancer, my appendix. I mean, all of those different things point to that, mono. So learning some way fixing my immune system, you know, obviously is key. And the second thing I think is probably my gut motility, because I've always felt like it was like a snail, like really slow. Like, I would eat, like, I don't know, I would have people around me, they'd like eat and go to the bathroom. I was like, what's that about? I'm like, wow, that must be awesome. I was like, I ate, and I'm like, you know, it's like 3 days later, I'm like finally going to the bathroom. I mean, it did change, you know, once I started eating a lot more whole foods and stuff like that, but it was never normal. I never had like normal schedule, or it was just my gut motility is off. What was really interesting, because Dr. Pompa talked about your ileocecal valve, which has to, it's a lot, but it basically is a valve that is, it opens to allow like the food from the stomach to the small intestine, like in the duodenum and all the pieces. And some people who have autoimmune issues, or their nervous system isn't working correctly, it affects that part of the gut. And I was just saying this. So this was just really confirmation for me. So, you know, I've done a couple things with Dr. Pompa. I did his True Cellular Detox, and I've done his water fast. I've done like 4 water fasts. So I am, I'm having a lot of inflammation again, and I'm just like, okay, I feel like I'm down to eating like spinach, like olives. Like, I'm just like, this is ridiculous, you know? So, and it keeps me inflamed everywhere. Like, I feel like everything is puffy. Like, my stomach is puffy, my arms feel puffy. Like, I feel like I hold on to all this water. So then, you know, I mean, let's face it, ladies, we don't ever like to feel puffy. And I live like by McKinney Airport. So, you know, the little planes going by. So yeah, I am just going to continue, and I'm going to share my journey with you. You know, whatever doctor I end up talking to, if I talk to both of them. And my husband also, we have this $5,000 machine called the Vector machine. When he had CRPS, we used it to help reset his nervous system. It's a pretty complicated machine, but basically we're going to look to see if there's an intestinal protocol, and see if I could use that to heal my body. After what Philip has gone through with, all of his autoimmune issues and CRPS, which is like fibromyalgia on steroids, when you're in pain like 24/7. It's called the suicide disease. It's crazy. We're actually going to have Philip on our podcast at the end of the month. So he's going to share a little bit about the Burning Limb Foundation and what CRPS is. It's a terrible, terrible thing. But the clinic he went to, everything that she does is all natural and healing. So there's no, it's really trying to heal through food and heal through all these different modalities she has, like the Vector machine and the ARP wave. And it's amazing when I see people's journeys, people who cannot walk. They're literally disabled, can't walk, are in pain 24/7 and then out of pain. It blows my mind every time I watch it. It's absolutely incredible. So people who have POTS and EDS and all those things that I have no idea, right? Like doctors are like, and sometimes people spend 2-3 years sifting through all these doctors. So it's just been eye-opening for me to learn all of these things. And I'm grateful because I really think that we're on the verge of healing a lot of these gut things. So clean up your diet. That's number one. If you're struggling right now with your own gut health, start to do the small things. Just clean up your diet. Start to eat more, grab more fruit. I know it sounds so simple, guys, but it really, truly is. I have a 21-day cleanse. If you need help, the cleanse is available. Or nutrition coaching or whatever. I'm here to help people just to get healthy and get healed and feel better. I guess who better to do that than somebody who struggles like I've struggled. So, it's awesome. So again, if you listen to podcasts, Nutrition Rounds is an awesome one. Ladies Out Loud podcast with Carrie and I, and we're doing a network. So if you are a person that is interested in starting your own podcast, please message me because I would love to just set up a meeting and kind of talk and see if this is something you'd be interested in being a part of. I think it's going to be a really awesome experience. And and then I am going to be just out getting my media kit ready, speaking. I start sharing my story. And I'll tell you what, cancer, I wanted to be like, yeah, I got cancer, that's behind me, move on. Like I really did. So sharing my cancer story, and not even just my cancer story, but really how I thrived from that is been something. Like when I started this live, I said, how many of you some days just want to sit on the couch, drown yourself in coffee, maybe wine, whatever, and Game of Thrones, or whatever your, binge watching experience is. And I think as I began to write this media kit up and put the content together to get myself out speaking and sharing my story, it's been like a really painful process because, you have to look at those dark spots that you put behind you. And I think that even when you've overcome it, and it's been almost 5 years, I think you still are, I think it's one of those things where you feel like you've packed it away.